Hey everybody, welcome to Comics Now for April 2019. Comics are in full swing. We're getting ready. The events are starting to happen. Movies are coming out like crazy. TV shows are wrapping up their seasons. Just everything in the world's going on right now. It's a lot of fun to be in the comic book business. We have both Shazam is coming out this month as well as Avengers Endgame. So there's going to be a lot of talk. There's going to be a lot of stuff on social media and TV, and you're going to see comic book characters all over the place, which is always great for me because it just raises awareness and lets people know that, yes, these comic book things are still around and you can read more stories if you like what you saw. So we're doing all sorts of fun stuff here at the store too.
From the shining domicile that is Pittsburgh Comics, my old mannered comic shop owner Colin McMahon transforms into the world's greatest comic book talking TV host. Join us true believers for Comics Now!
We're gearing up for Free Comic Book Day, which is going to be on Saturday, May 4th. So April is normally my getting ready month, which is always fun because it's a big, exciting thing that happens right at the beginning of May. We're also doing for book club this month. I decided to do Infinity Gauntlet, which is what Avengers Endgame is kind of loosely based on. It's about Thanos trying to wiping out half the universe in order to, in the book, to impress death, and how the heroes defeat him. So we're doing that on April 26th, which is actually the day the movie comes out, and that's when we're doing book club. And we're going to do that. So if you want to get a little sneak peek at least how it happened in the comic books, come on out. I'll have them in stock. And as always, the book club books are 25% off if you say you're buying it for book club. So let's see, what else? Also, we're doing Aftershock month. They're another small publisher that's been really, really store friendly and doing lots of things they can to help us out and help us carry their stock a little, carry more of their product. So I decided to, we did Boom last month, who won the industry award, and now this month I'm going to do Aftershock, who has a lot of really neat books. It's a really neat company. It was started by Mike Martz. He was one of the founders, and he'd been an editor at DC and Marvel. He'd done the X-Men line, he'd done Batman. So he had a lot of good contacts and stuff. So when he started this line, he was able to reach out to his friends and get them to come do some creator-owned type stuff at his company. So they've always had a lot of top-notch creators working on their stuff, which is always good, especially for the newer, smaller publishers. A lot of times they just kind of you'll find the new guys who are learning and growing, but the product isn't always the best. They've really started out with some really top-notch product. So come on out. We'll show you all the different stuff that Aftershock has put out, and I'm sure we can find something that suits your tastes. So let's get into what's happening in April. Like I said, the events are starting. We'll start with Marvel because they have the biggest event of the summer coming, which is War of Realms. This is written by Jason Aaron and drawn by Russell Dauterman, and they've had a long run on Thor. And this is basically wrapping up Jason Aaron's, I want to say, 5-year run on Thor. Everything he's done has led to this, where Malekith, who was the bad guy in the second Thor movie, just to give you a little context, has taken out all of the 10 realms. He's taken out all the other realms. The only one left is Midgard, which is Earth. And so he's now coming to take over. Thor is kind of AWOL. Nobody knows where Thor is. And so all the heroes of the Marvel Universe are having to take him on and take on his giant army. So there are a lot of books tying into this. They have a bunch of miniseries tied into it like they always like to do. Here are some of them. It's Journey into Mystery. The key to the battle might be Thor's baby sister. So Miles Morales, Kate Bishop, Wonder Man, and Balder the Brave have to try to protect her to see if she can end this battle. You also have a War of the Realms Uncanny X-Men miniseries, and this is by Matthew Rosenberg, and it's detailing what happens when the mutant community has to get involved with this, and also involves Danny Moonstar, who is now a Valkyrie. So she's getting involved in leading the fight. You have War of Realms War Scrolls, which is more of an anthology book. Each issue is going to have 3 or 4 different stories. Just a nice big one, just touching on some of the different areas and different things going on in the overall picture. And then Punisher, War of Realms Punisher, where he's defending New York, and he's one of those guys you really don't want to mess with. So we'll see how this invading army deals with Frank Castle. And there's a bunch of other books in April tying in as well. You have Asgardians of the Galaxy, which makes sense, and Avengers and Thor. Then a couple odd ones. You have Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. We'll see if she can stop it. And Venom, where Malekith has plans for Venom, and that's going to tie in also into the Venom book. Avengers No Road Home wraps up. That's the new weekly series. Been hearing a lot of really good things about it. People like it even more than the previous one. This one's doing really well. They just had Conan involved in the storyline, and we'll see where that leads. We also have, they're doing some one-shots. We have Avengers Edge of Infinity, which is a MODOK story, where he's taking on Captain America, Black Widow, Iron Man, and Captain Marvel. Marvel Tales Thanos. This has been real big, thick books collecting some like greatest hits, and this one is Thanos' greatest hits. Of course, timing right in time for Avengers Endgame. A new series is starting. It's Thanos. This is written by Tini Howard and drawn by Ariel Olivetti. And it's delving more into Gamora and Thanos' backstory. What happened as she was growing up and what established their relationship. So again, kind of tying in with the movie and also tying in with what's going on in the books. A new one, very excited about this one, Major X. This is by Rob Liefeld. He's created a new X character. And he's taking on the X-Men, and we'll have to figure out what and who he is. Symbiote Spider-Man. This is going back and telling a story back right after Spider-Man got the costume and before he realized it was evil and Venom. And this is written by Peter David and drawn by Greg Land. And this one is going to be Spider-Man versus Mysterio. So we'll see how this one goes. Spider-Man the Hunted storyline continues. This is where Kraven the Hunter is hunting all the animal-type heroes and villains. And it also has a bunch of extra issues that are designated .hu for Hunted. And each one of these focuses on a different character, mostly the villains. I know the one that's shipping the first week of April involves the Gibbon, which I enjoy because I always tease a big Spider-Man fan about the Gibbon is his favorite. So I'll be able to ride him for a little bit. Marvel Team Up is a new one. This is from Eve Ewing. And this is a new team-up book with Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man, and Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel. So they're promising us some big and exciting storylines in that one. Web of Venom, Cult of Carnage. Now, the big event that they just announced in Chicago at C2E2 was a big Absolute Carnage event, which is going to be, a big disaster for everyone because with Carnage taking over. And I believe this is going to be a real little precursor to this, showing the Cult of Carnage, with all sorts of people kind of across the country that worship, or maybe the world, that worship Carnage. And it's going to start, the storyline, I believe, is going to start right about here. Star Wars is doing some interesting stuff. They're doing Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which is actually tying in with the new theme ride attraction down at Disney World. So this is going to tie in story-wise to what's going on in the theme park. So if you're a big fan of Star Wars and the theme park and Disney, this is going to be a book for you. They're also doing one called TIE Fighter. This is written by Jody Hauser. It's about this elite Shadow Wing group of TIE fighters and what they deal with day in and day out. Are they necessarily for the Empire? Is it just a job? How do they deal with everything that they have to go through? So that's interesting. I don't think we've ever seen anything about any of the Empire's actual soldiers. And then they're continuing on. I think we're going to be nearing the, well, not nearing the end. I guess we're at the middle of this, the Star Wars Age of Rebellion issues. And this month we're getting Princess Leia, Grand Moff Tarkin, and there's a special which is smaller stories of IG-88, Yoda, and Biggs and Porkins. So that's what's going on with Marvel. They have a ton of stuff. Like I said, the War Realms is going to be huge and all-encompassing, so that one should be good. Detective really doesn't have anything new coming out. They really didn't even have any new number ones. Just all their stories are continuing, which is just fine. Things are going along really well with most of their books. So just continuing on their stories. The only big notable thing is in Detective Comics 1001, they introduced Arkham Knight in Detective 1000, and this is going to be his story where he's trying to take out Batman because he thinks Batman only rules by fear and isn't a true hero. So we'll see where that one goes. So getting into some of the other companies now. We start with Image. They have one called Ascender. This is the direct follow-up to Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen's Descender. And the story takes place 10 years after the end of Descender. Descender sold really, really well. Futuristic outer space story. And this is going to be continuing that story. They have another one. Fair Lady is another one from Image. And basically, after the Great War, as the world kind of settles back in, there's these people called Fairmen who are specially licensed private investigators. But this one lady becomes the only fair lady, and she goes on to do these special investigations, and she discovers that sometimes the smallest cases can hide the biggest secrets. Section Zero is one from Carl Kessel and Tom Grummett, and basically a team of fearless adventurers encounters the secrets behind UFOs, monsters, and lost civilizations. So a real small story, just touching on a little personal interest type stuff. Dark Horse. Dark Horse has a bunch of stuff coming out. American Gods. The season 2 just started up recently on Starz, and they're doing the next wave of the adaptation of Neil Gaiman's book. This is Moment of the Storm is the name of this miniseries. She Could Fly, The Lost Pilot. She Could Fly, the first miniseries, was based on suddenly this flying lady is flying through the sky, hits something that no one could see, and dies. And this girl, who has some mental troubles and issues, decides to investigate and try to figure out who she is. And so this story picks up after she gets out of the mental institution that she ended up in at the end of part 1. IDW is doing some interesting stuff this month too. We're getting Star Trek Year 5. If you remember, the original Starship Enterprise was on a 5-year mission. Well, this is finally going to tell the last year of their original mission. Samurai Jack returns. Our fan favorite cartoon is coming back with a series. Big Hero 6 is also getting a series, which is great because there's really been no follow-up to the movie. So now you'll be able to get some more story of those characters. They're also doing a Narcos miniseries that is based on the Netflix series. And we're getting another series of Dick Tracy, and it's called Dick Tracy Forever by Michael Avon Oeming. Black Crown, which is their kind of little Vertigo type section of their company, is doing one called Eve Stranger. And it says, what happens when you have people with extraordinary ability, or you have extraordinary abilities, but you kind of get an inkling that the people you're working for are actually the bad guys. So we'll see what happens with that. Dynamite is continuing a bunch of their licensed stuff. We're getting a new Xena Warrior Princess book. Betty Page is coming back. And we're getting a new Kiss book, Kiss the End. Boom is coming out with some real good stuff. We're getting Faithless. This is a new one from Brian Azzarello. And Faith likes to dabble with magic, but Faith is bored. Bored as hell. Unfortunately, hell has taken notice. So this is going to be nice and raunchy, and they're doing erotic covers, and the cover of the first one was very gory, so this is going to be a little edgy book that we normally don't get from Boom, so this is going to be interesting. They're also doing Jim Henson Storytellers. They're bringing this one back. They've done a bunch of these, and this one is The Sirens. And with this, they tell like ancient folklore stories from around the world, and the first one is a Polish folktale called The Fisherman and the Mermaid, and this one's all going to be involving sea mysteries and things. And Rocco's Modern Afterlife is back. I guess something bad happened at the end of Rocco's Modern Life, and so now it's the afterlife and zombies. Action Lab is doing a bunch of new series based on a lot of their previous series. So we're getting new series of Princeless, Vamplets, Spencer and Locke, and we're getting Vamplade Season 4. So if you've been hanging around, there's a new season coming. Aftershock is also coming out with stuff. Like I said, we're doing a special Aftershock month. Well, they have an interesting one by Zach Thompson, and this one's a little autobiographical. It's a one-shot, big prestige format, thick book, but it's called The Replacer. And basically, the youngest child in the family is convinced his newly paralyzed father is actually possessed by a demon, and how he deals with that when he doesn't see dad as dad anymore. And the description did say it was a little autobiographical, so this could be an interesting little book. They're also doing Mary Shelley Monster Hunter. People were wondering how 19-year-old Mary Shelley had this great idea for Frankenstein to write the story, while in reality she lived it. So it's going to be the story of Mary Shelley and how she fought the monsters. Another one, Orphan Age. One day, all the adults in the world died at the very same time. Now it takes place, this book takes place 10 years later as the kids who were around there have grown up and are trying to rebuild society. Ahoy. I've talked a lot about Ahoy. I hope I have, because I really love everything Ahoy Comics has been doing. They're a brand new publisher. A lot of fun. Their first wave of books was just really crazy. The graphic novels are finally going to be coming out in a couple months, and I'll have big stacks of them because I really enjoyed what they did in their first wave, and they're starting now the second wave. And the first book to come out is called Bronze Age Boogie. And it's basically they're taking all the favorite subjects of 70s comics, which were apes, monsters, kung fu, sword and sorcery, and cosmic adventures, and rolling it all into one book. So this should be fun and crazy. The neat thing with them, the books are nice and thick, and the first half of the book is the comic, and then the back half they do interviews, they do little stories, little editorial things like that. It's really neat. It's a real nice package to each of their issues. They're also doing another one called Planet of the Nerds, and what happens when 3 80s style jocks from Revenge of the Nerds, those kind of jock guys, get accidentally cryogenically frozen and then are thawed out now in 2019 when kind of the nerds are running things, and how are they going to deal with that where they're no longer in charge. So that should be fun. Archie has a couple things. We're getting Jughead versus Vampironica. So we're getting the two Jughead, the Wolverine or the werewolf version of Jughead, taking on the vampire version of Veronica, because why not? We're also getting Sabrina Monster-Sized Edition, and this is kind of nice because the series just kind of ended because the writer of it got really involved with doing the Riverdale TV show and the Sabrina TV show, so there hasn't been any new issues, and there wasn't enough to do a second graphic novel of the material, so they're just doing kind of a bumper edition, which is just going to have 3 issues, but it's going to wrap up everything that has come out so far. The first graphic novel sold great, but then the next, I think it was just 3 more issues, just kind of, nobody could get them, you couldn't read them, so now we're getting a little bumper edition, which is good. Heavy Metal, they do a lot of little things. They just got their new editor-in-chief, Tim Seeley of Hack Slash fame, is taking over that, and they're bringing back a second volume of their Iron Maiden Legacy of the Beast storyline. First one did unbelievably well, far better than I ever expected, and was constantly reordering. So the fans of that, Volume 2 is on its way. Scout Comics, a new little guy. Lots of good stuff. They're putting out lots of neat little books that are doing well. Has a new one called Electric Black, which is basically a cursed antique store that just kind of pops up whenever it feels like it in places and gets people in to buy these special antiques that it can then try to corrupt them or devour their souls. So hey, that's fun. Source Point Press has a neat one called Achilles Inc. Basically, something happened and a small sliver of the entire population of Earth is given superpowers. And all of a sudden they take control of the Earth, and everybody who doesn't have superpowers is really, looked down on and is treated poorly. Achilles Inc. has popped up, and they know every failing of these heroes now, of these superpowered people, and they're working on taking them down through their individual liabilities. Valiant has one new series called Punk Mambo, where she's a hard-living voodoo priestess who grew up in London, then relocated to the Bayou. Now she's a mystical mercenary for hire. So someone basically described as basically John Constantine in the Valiant universe. So if you like that, you might like this one. And then wrapping up, we have Vault, who I really, really like. They're doing a book called These Savage Shores that I really just fell in love with. It was just fascinating to me. And they have a neat new one called Queen of Bad Dreams. And basically, this person is in charge of when dreams escape the dreamer's mind, they're responsible for either putting them back or letting them be free and is existing on their own. So this is the story of her. So it's going to be a little fantasy, a little crazy. So that's what's going on in April. Like I said, April's always fun. It's a big prep month for me and trying to get everything ready for Free Comic Book Day. But lots of fun stuff going on. Like I said, Marvel's got War of Realms, which is going to be going through a ton of its line. Plus, their other stories are still going on. You got great stuff going on in Cap and Iron Man. DC is really chugging along. Batman, I think it will be wrapping up its Nightmare story. And lots of other new great books. Dial H for Hero just came out. That's been good. Wonder Twins by Mark Russell, who I adore, has been just a delight. So lots of good stuff there, and then lots of neat stuff from the smaller publishers, even the big ones like Image and IDW and Dark Horse. But take time to look at some of the smaller guys like Aftershock, and like I said, we'll have a nice little display up of the stuff that they've had that's already come out. Lots of neat stuff. Animosity, which is what happens when animals take over the world, and all sorts of different kind of books. One of a real favorite here at the store was one called Rough Riders, which was basically kind of a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with actual people that just did really, really well, and they did 3 or 4 volumes of that. So lots of good stuff in the store, lots of good stuff coming. So we're doing book club on April 26th, which is going to be Infinity Gauntlet. It's Aftershock month, and as always, if you have any questions, you can find me at the store. The website's Pittsburgh Comics. Facebook is Pittsburgh Comics. Twitter and Instagram is PGH Comics. So if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me. Other than that, stay tuned for Comic Previews Theater. Thanks for watching.
So this was me when I was a kid. No, not there. There. Though you wouldn't be the first person to make the mistake. It's an old, not funny joke.
Aw, no, Marty. I'm sorry, man. I thought you were the monkey. You see how easy it is to get you two mixed up?
Leave me alone.
Why, you need some private time with your sweetheart here? Hey, is that why you look like you do? Maybe your dad had a thing for...
Don't talk about my dad!
Yeah. Whoa, fellas. Wild animal on the loose. We better corral him.
Look out, he's feral.
I'm not an animal. I'm not... That laughter. You know, I could take the beatings. I could take the taunts. But I could never take the laughter. Guess not much has changed.
We got one, boys. Yeah, but which one? Ape Man? Gorilla Man?
Hey guys. I'm the gibbon.
What's a gibbon?
It's a kind of lesser ape. It doesn't matter. Look, whatever it is you all want.
What we want? Let me stop you right there, son. What I want is you mounted and stuffed in my den.
Okay, talking it out didn't work. Then again, I guess I was never good at talking much. There was only one thing I was ever really good at. Really, ever since I was a kid, anytime I was scared or in trouble, I could get away to this. The trees, the rooftops, the open sky. It's the only place I ever felt safe. And hey, you know all those stories about kids who got pushed around growing up and then they went on to do great things while their bullies got what they deserved? Well, that's not what happened to me. In fact, I heard a couple of those old bullies ended up getting really nice gigs on Wall Street. One of them started his own hedge fund. Me? I took the only job I could get. Word to the wise. If you have any issues with public mockery or people laughing at you, don't join the circus. After I got fired, I ended up in a flop house sharing a bathroom with a dozen other guys. It was pretty awful, but it had a great rooftop, and that's where I'd go every night. That's where everything changed. Once I met the amazing Spider-Man. He was like me. Well, not exactly like me. But there he was, swinging and jumping around in the air, just like I did. All the stuff I'd always done alone, suddenly, there was someone else. I read all about him, watched every news broadcast for a sighting of him. I got a little, obsessed. But I knew I was more than just some fan. This was my opportunity. For the first time in my life, I had a chance to make a friend. No, more than a friend. A partner. I still had my circus suit, and I decided to try and put it to some good use. I still walk around the city, trying to find him, and once I did, I'd make him a big offer. We could fight crime together, be good guys together, swing through the city together. Yeah.